Hey everyone, welcome to It's a Metal Thing. Today I start the roll cage on my 61 Ford Falcon Gasser. Let's do it. All right, so this has been going on for a while. If you've been watching my videos, it's been kind of a fiasco getting this going, but to this point. I made a hydraulic ratcheting setup. I got the right size dies. I purchased this pump here. There's a bunch of trials and tribulations in the other videos. So what I'm about to do is I'm about to do a sample piece. So I got the BendTech bending software, and you have to calibrate the machine. So you make a bend, you put a mark on the tube, you cut a specific length tube, you put a mark on the tube, you put a 90-degree bend in it, and you take those measurements and you enter it into the software, and it will help you calculate your bend. So basically you could go off outside dimensions and tell them you're going off outside dimensions, and it would tell you where to start the bends and stuff, which is tricky. If you don't, I've never used this software. This is the first time I'm using it, but I've tried bending with this bender before, and a lot of times back in Alaska when we were building go-karts and stuff, and it's tough to get it right. So you really got to know what you're doing, or hopefully this software will make it happen. So anyway, so I'm about to make my first bend, and then I'll get the calculations off of it, and then I'll tell you what's happening next. All right. Got a 90. That was an ordeal. That pump is a high pressure pump. It's like 10,000 pounds. I don't need anywhere near that. That ram's rated at 3,000, but it so pumps super slow. Probably should have thought about that. I don't really know anything about hydraulics. It's my first setup, so I'm pleading ignorance on that. But so I kind of wanted the tighter radius because I wanted to fit the corner better, headliner. I wanted to match the headliner, but it's going to be what it's going to be, because that's about as tight as I can go. Distorted the tube a little bit, but not too bad. I might fill it with sand if I really want to care about it. There's only one bend that's close to 90, and it's that one up in the corner there. The rest of them are all nowhere near 90. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace that radius on there. I'm going on some sheet metal. I'm going to cut some corner pieces. And I'll cut some straight pieces 1 5/8, cut the corner pieces 1 5/8, and I'll make basically a template where I can clamp them together, tack them together. I'll get them in there nice and tight where I want them. And according to the software, all I gotta do is put the outside dimension in, the height, and it'll, where the bends need to be, and it should turn out perfect. So I don't know, we'll see. So I need to measure this up, enter the software, and make that first bend. So that's next. All right, so I took my 90, put it on, I think this is a piece of 16 gauge. I took a soapstone, put the point on one edge, that way you can run it, keep it vertical. This is pretty close enough to that. I'll probably cut 4 of them. I'll leave 2 of them 90, cut the other 2.5. None of the bends on here are more than 90. So the roll bar is going to follow the angle of that and then go straight down to the angle of the B pillar. So everything else is, there's no 90s on this car. So what I'm going to do is I'll cut these. I'll have the corners that I need. I'll cut some strips. I'll be able to clamp them together, tack them together, get them where they go. And that'll give me the outside dimension that I need. This BendTech software, you can go center line, you can go outside or inside. So I did just a quickie, throw one up on the program to see what it does. So it gives you the length of the straight or to the mark or what you got, I'm hoping. So yeah, so when I get this all mocked up, then I'll just go measure the outside dimension, measure the height, the width, and the angle and all that. And she will put it in there and hopefully bend it all up first time. So let's see if that happens. Cut some pieces up. They're a little rough, but that's not important. I cut these pieces, they're close to 1 5/8. If you're gonna do the same thing as I'm doing and cutting these pieces, your measurements can be critical, because you're gonna if you're basing your roll bar dimensions off the center line of the tube, because this has to be right so you can find the center line of this. Mine, fortunately, are all gonna be outside dimensions. So this doesn't even have to be this big. I can do it out at 1 inch if I wanted to. As long as the radius is right and everything lands and the outside edge is the outside edge, then everything should be all right. So going to figure out a way to clamp these into here by myself and get a working model for this robot. I leveled up the frame right here, just making sure everything's straight and level. So when I run these verticals and level them up, they're right. So yeah, I'm gonna start clamping stuff. All right, clamped in. That's my idea. So I had some 3-inch angle iron. I just cut a couple strips. I was gonna clamp to this pinch weld, and then clamp it up here on these corners here. And then I just kind of clamped everything in with that outside edge. I'm going to double check level on the car, double check level on these, make sure they're vertical, double check the level on the crossbar, making sure it's horizontal, and then I'll just check the angle on both sides and make sure they're the same, and the distance, I like the distance on each side. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time dialing everything in. Then once that's done, I'm going to tack it together. Should come out, should be able to measure off of it, and it should, in theory, make my main hoop. Tacked in. These are level. I was debating on whether to kick it out with like the body does, but I need to get to the back side of this and be able to weld it. It's going to be down in the floor. I'm going to run a tube across. I don't know if I said that before, but I'm going to run a tube from the rocker over to the main frame rail there and have it go down farther. So just be able to get around there and weld. I'll leave it like that. Horizontal, vertical. These sides are within a half a degree of each other, so I'm okay with that. So now I'm going to take it out. Measure it up, just make sure these are parallel, and do some measuring and see what the computer says. Let's bend some tube. All right, entered it in there. So I don't know, we'll see. So I have a cut length of 122. It tells you where all the bends are from the end. It tells you the angle of bend to 2 at 16 and 2 at 74. Gives you leg length, all that stuff. So when I made this piece of reference bend to calibrate the machine, I put just a mark on there 5 inches from the end with no real corroborating mark on the bender. I realized afterwards, see, the problem is I don't have the internet at the shop, so I'm trying to calibrate the two down here and then go home and put in the information. So I was off a little bit on one, but I made a mark on the bender now, so I know where the calibration marks are. The tube, the only thing that would ever have an issue with that is the first leg and the back leg, right? If you're going to try to be exactly precise and you cut the piece of last exactly 22.5 inches and it would end up ready to go, I'm not doing that. I'm never going to do any of that. This is the only thing I'm using this software for, is this one tube. The rest of them are just going to be single angle, maybe a little bit of a double angle, but nothing I'm going to have to be super critical with, because I'm going to run them long for the fish mouth and the angle that ends up whatever it's going to be. So yeah, so I'm going to run the tubes long. I won't have to worry about that reference point. All those marks from the first bend on are the critical ones that gives you the height, or not the height, don't worry about the width, but gives you the width and the angle and everything to go fit in there. So I should be all right. So going to cut a piece of material maybe 130 inches long and give myself about 3 or 4 inches on each side and see if we can't bend up a main hoop. First bend done. So I take this welding rod. I have a cheap Harbor Freight angle finder. So it's 180. It says it's 14 degrees. So 180 minus 14 degrees is 166. So I just bent that. And then you can just laser right on top of there. You can find the center line. So I have this bend done. So now I'm just going to suck it all back and move it to the next position. This one's gonna be a little trickier. It wants to move harder, obviously, because you're bending farther, but I'm gonna probably, I've done it in the past, I just tack a piece of flat bar onto this tube. It butts up against this stop here, keeps it from moving. I'm gonna be super critical on this one, trying to make it turn out right. So that's next. 76, 2 more bends. So far, so good. Fingers crossed. Trust the process, right? 3 down. 1 to go. Done. Fits good. Got about a 3/16 of the gap each side. This is plumb. It's a little tall, probably, but when I cut the floor here and I put the bar underneath here, it'll drop down a little bit. So I'm going to run a bar from the rocker panel, or from the rocker box to the frame rail here. So that'll drop down a tad just because of this situation here. So another thing I got to do next probably is address the window regulators. Obviously, I'm not going to be using those. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out, just to save a little weight. Figure out what I'm going to do. I'm going to make carbon fiber back door panels and rear panels. Gotta figure out how I'm going to get those in and out, because these screw in and out. These have screws in here, so I got to be able to figure out what I'm going to do as far as getting the whiskers in here fixed. I got those coming. I don't really want to do it before I paint it, but I really have no choice at this point. Yeah. So figure out the windows, figure out what I'm doing here, get that all figured out and tidied up and buttoned up, and then I can start moving forward with the roll bar. So I'm going to come down with some back bars. Probably come down at an angle. I'm going to hit right here on this corner, this 45 here, for the panel fitment. So that's coming. So yeah, do those next. You don't need to see any of that, and then I'll start working on the rest of the cage. So the next thing to do is get this main hoop where it goes. The floor's got an indentation here. I need to cut this out. I'm going to run a frame rail. I'm going to run a tube from the main frame rail to the rocker, to the rocker panel or the rocker box here. So I'll cut that out. The problem I have is this torque box underneath here, the factory torque box. The leaf spring was mounted up behind here. So this is a box area, thin galvanized sheet metal I've cut out. It's going to be difficult to do it from the bottom. So what I'll probably do is I'll get a big cutoff wheel on the top, a big diameter one. I'll lay it out with a marker. I'll cut across here. And I think when I get to the edge of this rocker box, the torque box, I'll be able to see where I'm cutting at, and I can just square off the bottom, square over, and make a nice tidy cut. Then I can put a piece in there and weld up. So, yeah, that's probably next. Not sure how I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to cut the whole front off that box off so I can get in here and weld to the tube to the rocker. So, yeah, that's going to be next. Get in here, lay it out, cut a big chunk out of there with a deep cut on a large diameter cutoff wheel, and see where we get. All right, change the plans. This is just a piece of sheet metal. This is the start of the rear frame rail on the unibody. It ends here, and like this inside piece or the outside piece ends here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this all out. I'll put my tube in here for the roll cage. I'll run another piece of tube across here to meet up with this. This piece of 1/4 inch goes all the way up to the floor, and it is actually bolted through the existing unibody frame rail. So I cut this off here, and I'll run another piece of tube in here that runs all the way to here that I can weld this all to and make this all stronger and better. So that's the plan. Get underneath here, just basically hack it up, then I'll cut some spot welds and clean it all up and get the outrigger on here. That's next. Good times. Torque box is out. Probably like 4 hours doing that. It's all in there. So spot weld and all this. Put a little cut in here. Got a little carried away with the cutoff wheel. Got to weld those up. Beat all these where the spot welds were around and weld up where I like broke through. Gonna grind where the patch panel is the bottom of the patch panel I put in. Just grind this flush. Adjust this rust, and then I'm ready to start putting cross bracing in for the roll bar here, and then I'm going to tie the rear spring in back into here since I cut all that out. So yeah, I'm going to do that next. Torque box cut out. Got to do some welding still and some other stuff in there, but I want to get these bars in and get this located so I can start working on this cage. I can do all the underneath stuff later on, but if I get this bar where it needs to go and get it all tacked in, it'll help, and I can do all other stuff later. I need to cut this notch out, this little indentation that they put in there for body strength. So I'm going to run a piece of 1 3/4 wide piece of flat bar, lay it in here, square it off with the pinch weld here. Draw the line. I want to go 1 3/4 wide. I bought this 2 by 3 rectangular tubing. It's 3/16 wall, and the corners are here pretty rounded. So if I went with a full 2 inches, I'm afraid it'll be like a big gap there. So I'm gonna start with 1.5 inches. I'll cut the line, maybe cut outside the line, and hopefully that'll fit nice. So yeah, I'm gonna cut this to length, cut that floor, clean this up, tack it in, see where we're at. Floor's cut. Took that piece of 1 3/4 cold roll flat bar, squared it up with the framing square, and marked it out with a pencil. Cut it with my, what is that, Milwaukee battery powered angle grinder. It cuts good, and it's not nearly as sketch as a regular grinder. It's a lot more mellow, you know. You're not playing hard rock at high volume, skipping and sketching that thing all over the place. So yeah, I'm happy with the way these turned out. I'm going to, I did move them back a little bit and center over that notch. I moved it back as far as I could, try to stay away from this radius. So they're back a little bit. I measured them both the same, hopefully. At least the floor is. I went to measure on the frame when it comes time, just to make sure that this is square in here. So I got a piece of steel sitting outside with some muriatic acid on it, trying to get some of that scale off. I'm going to sand it up, clean it up, and get it in here and see if we can't tack it in and see where we're at. All right, got the bars tacked in. Went pretty good. This gap is good here. This one on this side, it worked out pretty good. That one over there got away from me a little bit. Using the cutoff wheel, that angle, you don't want to push into the cut. It'll kick back and it gets ugly. So couldn't really see what I was doing, but it'll work. I'll be able to fill it in. I got this clamped in place. It's sitting in the center of the tube, and I have it lined up nice with the window frame. The problem is this main hoop is twisted a little bit. So that ends up being like 1.8 degrees where it ended up being happy there. And this is like 0.7. So it's got a little twist to it. You can kind of see how, I don't know, I can't really tell because of reflection, but this kind of angles in a little bit. And I have to like put some tension on it to try to get it to come this way. So I just need to bring this leg this way a little bit, get it all flat and straight. And then I'll get it where it's all lined up. Then I'll go ahead and tack the bottom, and I'll do something like I have over there. I have a piece of angle iron just kind of clamped onto that pinch weld up there, the interior frame of the roof. I could probably just tack that in place to make sure it doesn't move once it's all said and done. I might be able to put a little pressure on it to get it exactly how I want it, but I don't want to put too much tension on that. But this needs to be straight and where I want it and square and everything nice so that everything else based off of that will work. So yeah, happy so far. So straighten this up, get it clamped in, get it where it belongs, maybe tack it in, and then I can move, well, definitely tack it in, and then move on to the back bars. So that's it. All right, so for the two back bars, I want them to land probably somewhere in here. I want to stay out here where the frame rail is, which this is all spot welded on, it's unibody. So we'll kind of land in here somewhere, not exactly sure where. I want this bar to come back some and then down. I don't want it to follow this angle, it's too steep, but I don't want to see the bar from the side of the car. So the bar is going to probably come more at this angle here. Not quite as steep as this if I just tried to follow this down the center, because I'll probably end up coming up here somewhere and then down through. I want to come through, like I told in the past, right at this corner here. The reason being is when I put the panels in, I want to build carbon fiber panels here, I want it to be a nice fit. When you get back here like this, then you end up with a weird, situation where you're trying to go around it or have like a filler piece in there. I want it to end up basically right in the middle here, so it's a nice and sweet little detail around here, so it won't be weird. So I have to figure out, this is going to be an important hole, figure out where this lands in relation to this line. Once I get that figured out, that I can kind of play around with the angles that I need to do. So first things first, figure out where these holes are going to go and get those in there. All right, so I think this is where I want it to land. In here somewhere, I'm going to have to make a plate big enough. They got a certain dimension that you need to have. I'll have to spread it out a little bit, make a weird shape, but I think there's a certain square inches you have to have. Anyway, so it lands right up in here so you can see where I need to drill. So what I'm going to do is I'll take a drill bit, come up from this bottom corner and just put a pilot hole. And then I'll reference the other side, do the same thing over there, and then that'll allow me to drill down through with an 1 5/8 hole saw on that corner and see kind of where we end up. That'll help me figure out the angles of the bar and all that. So do that next. Tacked in, tack the bottom, clean the metal where I thought I was going to weld. Tacked in, there's a piece of angle iron that I was using for temporary hole, but I tacked it to the body and then the roll bar. Tacked in here, got the holes done. Now I took that level, I put some reference marks on the floor, some magic marker, and I was able to put this back where it belongs. I got a line, the laser shooting all the way up to there. So now I have a point of where the should intersect. Did the same thing over here on this side. So now I'm going to take my jiginator parts and see what kind of tube I gotta end up with. So the start of the process, right? So I have my pieces that I cut to simulate basically a two-dimensional view. I'm looking at this. I'm over on the other side. I'm working on it. I'm thinking, it's not too bad. But then now I can come around this side and I can visualize. I said, I don't like that, right? I kind of want this bar to be back more, just to kind of spread out the length and give the whole body a more rigid situation. But I don't like this angle. So I need to, there's like two pieces here. I'm gonna shorten those up, bring that out, and bring this back some and get more of an angle in here. From that side over there, it's not bad. It looks okay because everything's hidden, but over here, I don't like it. So this type of little envisioning tool, as some people call them, will help you figure out what you want to do. So I'm going to bring this back more, make that shorter. I feel like that's a pretty good area here in the back. It gives me a little bit more room to spread. I think it has to be 6 by 6. I have to look it up. But I think it literally has to be a certain square inch. So I can cut it around the fender well and bring it down. And a little more room on this side just because the way the trunk and stuff lays out, it's weird. This car's like offset in the back or in the trunk area. And that's all right. I don't mind that right there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up a piece of tube and bend it and start playing around with it. Cut, bent, kind of held into place. First thing I'm going to do is get this angle down here. Just lay a flat edge on there. We'll be able to describe a line on here. Get that out of the way. The angle might change a little bit because it's got to come up another 1 5/8 to meet up with that tube up there. But that's not going to do anything down here. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch, maybe on the front side. And I can grind that later and fit it in. I went ahead and finished cutting this out just to be able to slide this in and out and get that upper fish mouth going. So gonna cut this, grind it flat, and then start working on this upper part here. My sweet tubing notcher. This is downtown, brother. I don't even know where I got this thing. I've had this thing forever. 25, 30 years. It's been a while. Anyway, got her notched up. Let's see if it fits. Fitting good. Pretty happy with that. This is close. Needs to go down maybe a little bit more because I got to add an 1/8 inch to the bottom here with a pad. So I'll probably take a 1/4 inch off of that. That'll drop that down and probably get it just about right. Honestly, it's pretty close, but it needs to go down just a little more. And that gap up there is good. So I'm going to duplicate that. Pretty happy with that, just a little bit more massaging. So do that next. Second bar done. This one went way faster than the first one, as it usually does. I nailed the angle on the hole saw. Literally just had to do just a small amount of touch up. Went in pretty good. Not quite there yet, exactly on the height wise for the tube to run in the middle of the bend. I had some 1/8 inch cold roll. So NHR requires a 6 by 6 by 1/8 inch piece of steel to either be bolted through with this plate on the bottom, sandwiched, or welded. So I'm gonna weld these on. I had a piece of 6 inch wide laying around, oddly enough, 18 inches long. Let's cut these out. That's clean living. So I'm going to mark where this break is, take it down to my buddies and have him bend both of these. I just got to figure out what the angles are, get my angle finder out and mark them and have them bent up and finish this thing up. So it's hard to see here, but this angle is decreasing. It's a decreasing angle as it goes back. So I went and had these bent at the steepest angle. On this side, it's 34. And then I got my angle finder here for the back, and you can see I gotta flatten that out. So I'm gonna take it down to my buddy's shop. He's got a press down there. I'm gonna lay it on a thin piece of metal here and just try to work this edge, try to keep it straight and get this angle. Plates are done. This one, 40 minutes, 20 trips back and forth to the press. This one, 5 minutes, 2 trips to the press. It all averages out. Bought some weld primer. Go out from my local automotive paint store. They're discontinued, so stop selling this brand. He said, I think it's normally 30, I'll give it to you for 15. I said, okay, we looked it up, it's 55 bucks. Can you imagine? $55. Anyway, so I'm gonna put some primer on the back of these. I'm gonna probably eventually MIG these in these two plates. You can MIG them. It's all right for NHRA. I'll take the tube on, but I don't know if you can MIG weld with primer. I think it'll smoke and do weird stuff. So the plan is to I'll take these off, sand this, clean this all up, put some primer down, tack these in, and then finish up the back. Done, tacked in finally. Was wrestling with it, man. So everything's good. Everything's square. This is square with the main hoop. I like the angle of the bars. They don't like interfere or change the, you don't see some weird bar running at some weird angle in here. Doesn't catch the eye. The distances are good. I measured back from the seam to the plate. Left a 1/2-inch spacer on this side. So everything's good. I'm happy with it. The bar and the intersection's good. It looks like it's not quite there, but it is because this goes uphill. So I traced it out on here and ended up being right in the middle of the tube. So yeah, I'm happy. Things are good. Probably gonna end this video here. This is a big job. It's gonna take 3 or 4 videos probably. So I'm gonna end this video here. In the next video, I'm going to remove the dash. It's bolt in. I made the dash bolt in case you haven't been following along. Made the dash bolt in for a couple reasons. I put AC vents in it. I put the 2016 Mustang gauges in it. And I wanted to be able to get the down bar in past here. I don't want the down bar coming, because this comes all the way back here. It'd literally be sticking back like 6 or 8 inches in the doorway, which I don't want. I'm going to put a removable door bar on it. And so I want the stubs to stick past. So this will just come just out here. So you'll get hung up on it. And yeah, so that'll be in the next video. So if you like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. That always helps. It's been 7 or 8 months since I posted a video, so I'm getting back in it. Like I told you earlier, I had a crazy door job. Finally, I'm free. So anyway, catch you on the next one.